Welcome to the first Congress of Sexology in Missouri. I'm really impressed that there are so many people here. But well, let's start. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word sexology? Well, you might think immediately about the sexual acts. However, sexology is more complex and integral than just this. Let's start with the word sex. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, the word sex derives from French, with an origin around 1200 before Christ. At that time, the word simply referred to genitals. It wasn't until the mid-19th century when sex was first used to refer to the act of intercourse. However, sexology goes beyond the mere word sex. Sexology is a science that studies sex, but at the same time, embrace everything regarding with respect to feeling and expressing oneself as a man or a woman. This science also studies behaviors, sexual expressions, such as kissing, intercourse, gender, identity, sexual orientation, and interaction. This interaction refers to the relationship between humans as sexual partners, like affections, household chores, parenting, future plans, among others. As you can see, as sexual beings, we are more than just intercourse. As such, there are professionals in this area. Sexology isn't a field of study that you can study as an undergraduate degree, but exists as a master degree. People who study a master's in sexology are usually those who previously studied psychology, medicine, social work, social education, or science education. Upon completion, these professionals then become referred to sexologists. And what are the functions of a sexologist? Well, they are in charge of promoting sexual health, advise and guide sexual education, providing therapy as sex therapist, exercise as couple counselor, deal with problems derived from sexual orientation and identity, and work as a researcher. And why is sexology needed? As you know, the professional world is changing and usually it adjusts to the new social demands. Currently, sexology is an area with high demand, and its function is to answer four main needs. First, promote sexual health, considered a fundamental right by the World Health Organization. Second, to implement sex education programs. Third, to have professionals trained to act in the prevention and treatment of different sexual disorders and problems. And fourth, respond to the social demand for clinical care and specialized counseling in relation to sexuality. Sexology handles two basic concepts. One is sex and sexuality. Sex is an organic condition, and sexuality is closely related with sex, but it's not the same. Sexuality is a central aspect of the human being, which exists the whole life. For example, identity. This means how each individual sees themselves as. Also gender roles, and this is what society expects that you do as a woman or a man. We can also find erotism, pleasure, intimacy, reproduction, and as I said before, sexual orientation. Sexuality can be expressed through thoughts, fantasy, desires, belief, attitude, values, behaviors, gender role, and interpersonal relationships. Sexology also approaches two components of sexuality. There are sexual functions and sexual desires. Sexual function is the proper activity of sex and is a set of phases that involve simultaneous action. And sexual desire is a natural condition of an individual that activates and maintains sexual function. It depends on internal and external factors. And how these affect us? It may happen that sexual function is activated due to the sexual desire, but nevertheless, the sexual desire may disappear during the sexual function. Internal factors refer to hormones and neurotransmitters. Among the hormones, testosterone is fundamental in sexual desire, and among the neurotransmitters, dopamine is fundamental. Other non-biochemical internal factors are emotional and affective factors. On the other hand, the external factors would be the environment, creation of a romantic atmosphere, the appearance of the partner. This means someone who represents a sexual and erotic stimulus, which has nothing to do with couple love. There are even other factors, such as social, economic, and political power, which in some people activate sexual desire. All these factors together are responsible for the sexual function.
But what happens when libido decreases? First, what is the libido? We have already mentioned it before, but perhaps as we have mentioned it with another name, you may be confused. Do you know what it is? It's the technical name given to sexual desire in medicine, psychology, and other branches, such as sexology. But well, let's go back to the previous question. What happens when libido or sexual desire decrease? The affected person doesn't show any will or desire for sexual activity from her partner. This problem usually goes in hand with physical or psychological problems, causing sexual dysfunction. And you must be wondering what can cause that. The most common are endocrine problems, treatment with medications, metabolic diseases, stress, among others. This problem is more common than you thought, and unfortunately is more common in women. The lack of libido affects 22 to 51% of women, and in men 10 to 15. But let's clarify this topic a bit. There are 4 types of lack of sexual desire. Primary mostly affects women who have never had enough sexual desire. It is the null ability to perform sexual behaviors. Secondary. It's present in some people who have manifested sexual desire and who lost their libido over the years. Generalized. The person has no sexual desire for his partner or for anyone. And the last is the situational. The person has no sexual desire for his partner, but has it in others. Most of the time, the affected person will find excuses to avoid any sexual act with his partner, such as housework, work, watching Netflix, etc. This is why the sexual function of the couple is less in priorities. Why you may wonder if a sexologist really will help you. And the answer is yes. And here I clarify it in a more general way. The lack of libido requires good attention from a sexologist. The specialist will carry out a study of various factors such as the erotic history and sexual education of the patient, as well as the background of the father and mother, including the link that the patient has with them. The sexologist will also look for other methods to stimulate pleasure, medicine, natural treatments, etc. But don't be ashamed. If there is someone in the public who is presenting this type of problem and doesn't know how to ask certain things to their specialist, or rather, they may have some questions about sex education. Here I have some papers with some questions. I will commend you the most frequently asked questions that sexologists answer daily. The first question is: what is vaginismus? Does it affect orgasm? Well, it's a condition where the woman has a spasm in the muscle of her vagina. This prevents sexual intercourse and causes pain. The next question is: how to combat erectile dysfunction? The first thing, of course, is to go to a specialist doctor and rule out any serious illness. This is one of the most frequently asked questions. Do women ejaculate? Women emit a liquid very similar to semen, and most of the time women emit small amounts and the couple sometimes doesn't realize in the act. Here is a friendly reminder. Remember, female ejaculation is not urine. And I know many of us have thought that, but it's okay. Next question. Why are women slow to reach orgasm? Let me tell you that this is relative to sexual desire they present. Can menopausal women have sex? Yes, of course. Why not? Sexual activity isn't over for it, but there is a high probability that they have less sexual desire. Can masturbation cause sexual dysfunction? No. Masturbating doesn't predispose you to have any sexual dysfunction or even health problems. And the last, it is true that it's impossible to get pregnant on my period? No, but the probability is lower. Wow, I've realized that many questions are related to myths that have been said in the past. With this, we can realize that there are still several taboo topics regarding sex, sexual education, and personal sexuality. What do you think? What can we conclude with this talk? If you think like us, it's necessary to have the importance of sexual specialists and not only referring to the sexual area. It's important that we know our body, that there is sexual education since we attend elementary school. And well, finally, me and Natalia hope that the talk has been to your liking and that it has become clear to you what sexology is and how it helped us. Thank you so much, and remember that on October 5 we will be in Chicago giving a talk about contraceptive methods and the libido. Thank you so much.